On a chilly evening in March 2013, the world looked to the Vatican and saw white smoke rise. From the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, a humble man in white emerged, soft-spoken, smiling, and unfamiliar to many. He bowed his head and said simply, "Buonasera." That man was Jorge Mario Bergoglio, a Jesuit from Argentina, a voice from the global south, and now Pope Francis, the 266th successor of St. Peter, and the first ever from the Americas. Born on December 17, 1936 in Buenos Aires, Jorge Bergoglio was the son of Italian immigrants. Before the world knew him as Pope, he worked as a janitor, a chemical technician, and a bouncer. But it was the priesthood that called to him. A path of humility, service, and deep spiritual discipline. Ordained in 1969, he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires in 1998. Known for riding buses instead of limousines, visiting slums instead of elite halls, and cooking his own meals, he earned a reputation as a shepherd who smelled of his sheep. As Pope, Francis would redefine the role of spiritual leadership in the modern world. He chose the name Francis after Saint Francis of Assisi, a symbol of peace, humility, and care for the poor. His mission was clear: to rebuild the church not in brick and stone, but in mercy and compassion. Francis began reform from within. In 2013, he established the Council of Cardinals to overhaul the Curia. He tackled financial scandals, pushed for transparency in the Vatican Bank, and issued Predicate Evangelium, restructuring governance to be more pastoral and mission-oriented. But his reforms weren't just administrative, they were spiritual. He called for a church of the poor, for the poor. He reminded the faithful that the Eucharist is not a prize for the perfect, but a powerful medicine for the weak. From the halls of the United Nations to the shores of Lampedusa, Pope Francis became a prophetic voice for justice and mercy. He condemned the globalization of indifference. He warned the world of climate catastrophe with his landmark 2015 encyclical, Laudato Si'. He pleaded for peace in Syria, Myanmar, and Ukraine. He embraced migrants and refugees, saying they are not numbers, they are names, faces, and stories. Time magazine named him Person of the Year in 2013, but more importantly, he became the conscience of our age. In 2015, Francis announced a Jubilee Year of Mercy, a call to forgive, heal, and reconcile. He visited prisons and washed the feet of Muslims, women, and convicts. He encouraged priests to be ministers of healing. He opened doors, quite literally, to the marginalized, the divorced, the LGBTQ+ community, the forgotten. "Who am I to judge?" he once said, echoing the radical welcome of the gospel. But not all welcomed his vision. Francis faced resistance from within the church. His openness to interreligious dialogue, his calls for synodality, and his cautious approach to doctrinal debates drew both admiration and backlash. The sexual abuse crisis, too, cast a shadow. While he took unprecedented steps, defrocking cardinals, holding summits, updating canon law, critics argued it wasn't enough. Still, Francis never shied away from difficult truths. The church is not a fortress but a field hospital, he insisted, and he remained committed to healing, even in the face of deep wounds. As his health declined in later years, Pope Francis continued to inspire. His papacy marked not only a spiritual revival but a reorientation of the church toward the peripheries, geographic, economic, and spiritual. When he passed away in insert year, the world mourned not just a pontiff, but a peacemaker, prophet, and pastor. Tributes poured in from presidents, patriots, prisoners, and the poor. He was the Pope who kissed the leper, who hugged the homeless, who whispered mercy into a world too full of noise. Pope Francis redefined what it means to lead, not from a throne of gold, but from a chair of humility. He reminded us that the church is not a museum of saints, but a refuge for sinners. In a time of walls, he built bridges. In a time of fear, he preached hope. And in a time of silence, he chose to speak. He was, and always will be, the people's Pope. In memory of Pope Francis, 1936 to year of death, let us dream together. Pope Francis, Let Us Dream, 2020.